Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy Saturday, happy weekend to everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is episode 176 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, and I hope everyone is doing swimmingly so far. It's been a crazy week. We had our first full week back at school. I mentioned that a little bit last night on Friday Night Tights. And it's been exhausting. The kids so far have been great, though. So we've been having some really good discussions in classes, and overall it's been fine. Obviously, everything with the masks and the cleaning that we have to do is a bit nuts and a bit crazy. But in the end, I think everyone is doing everything that they possibly can to try and make it as normal as possible. And it has been, again, it's been good. So just to have to come home with a headache just because of being tired, it's much better than having to come home with tiredness and anxiety and everything else like that. But anyway, before getting into the news of tonight, which of course is that AMC Theaters is now finally officially reopening. And I know that I seem to have said this before several times on the channel. Oh, AMC is planning to reopen, it's planning to reopen, it's planning to reopen. It kept getting pushed back and back and back. The reason why I think that it actually is sticking this time is because they are now officially putting ticket sales out there. They are now officially putting actual movie times back on their website. And of course, there is that big story that they are offering tickets for the movies that are going to be out this coming week. So if you are in a location, only 100 AMC locations are opening up this Thursday, Friday. But if you are lucky enough to be in one of those locations, they are offering tickets for 15 cents. 15 cents. Madness. Now, of course, they're playing it as it's a 1920 and 2020 theme, but obviously it's because they know we gotta do something crazy to get people to come back to theaters, because at the end of the day, you probably have about a mixed audience. I would say if you look at the average moviegoer, you probably have close to, I would imagine, a 50-50 split of people that are comfortable going back to the theater and others that would just feel safer waiting a couple weeks to see how things go, or potentially even waiting a little bit longer, not wanting to risk sitting in a theater, even though most of the people going to the theater probably would be okay health-wise. Obviously, because we live in the we live in the age that we live in, and there's been a lot of fear and a lot of I would argue misinformation, or at least hyped up information. It of course is making everyone think, oh, I can't go because if I go, then I'm going to die, which of course is just not really how the numbers are panning out. But they are indeed finally reopening, and that includes my own local AMCs as well. However, I will be a part of the second batch of theaters reopening for AMC and Regal. I actually checked my Regal theater today to see how the theater reopening was going there. And so the Regal is actually reopening this Thursday, or rather, sorry, this Friday. So this coming Friday, the Regal near me is actually going to be reopening. So that's kind of exciting. They're showing mostly older films, and it's all going to be like $5 tickets. It includes actually Empire Strikes Back and several other movies that have been out now for a few weeks and maybe even months, based on, if you've been and had any local theaters that have been allowed to reopen in your state. Here in the US, you probably have seen some of these movies have been, put out there, but it is still exciting nonetheless, just to have the big chains finally reopening. And there's one Regal theater in my area. There's several AMCs, and so the Regal's opening this week. There's like a couple of newer releases that are actually coming out that day. I want to say Unhinged is going to be one of those films that's going to be out at the Regal, and of course they're going to be charging somewhat normal prices. The one I looked at for the nighttime price was around $12 for a ticket, which sounds about what it was beforehand, which both is good and bad, because one, it means it looks like they're not hyping up and really, trying to gouge the ticket prices. But at the same time, they're not cutting the prices either, which I think would make more sense when it comes to trying to get people back in. But hey, they're offering $5 tickets for the classic films. And it's funny how some of the films are actual classics and others are more modern movies, but they have to label it classic for the whole $5 thing. But yeah, my AMC, though, is going to be in that second batch. So the AMCs near me are going to be opening August 28th. And so that will be interesting to see, because obviously we'll have other films coming out at that time. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of films they're going to offer. I'm imagining a lot of them are going to be classic films too. I think they're going to be offering also cheaper $5 tickets for those classic type movies. And they're also going to be offering, of course, some newer releases. I imagine that Unhinged will probably be one of those movies too. And I think I'm going to wait until the theaters here actually reopen before I try to restart my AMC A-List pass, because at this point I would rather not have to restart it just for them to decide last minute, oh, we're deciding to stop the reopening. But anyway, thank you all so much for being here. As I said, I was only going to mention it, but then I started talking about it, and it just makes me excited. Just makes me excited that theaters are actually now starting to reopen as far as the major chains go. Again, locals have been open now for a long time. The outside theaters, the drive-ins have really never closed in many locations. And so I'm very excited because that means hopefully we'll be getting Tenet in my area beginning of September. Sad that it's going to be released in the UK and in overseas markets prior to that, because I don't want any spoilers coming out. And obviously the easy thing is, stay off social media, stay off of the internet. But part of what I do kind of really needs me to be and have access to the internet and to the news, so I can cover it if need be. Even though I haven't done a whole lot of work recently. And again, I do want to apologize for that, for not having a lot of content recently. But again, as you all know, school has been crazy. And the beginning of school, especially, getting back in the rhythm of things is tiring. And obviously, too, baby Thor is around 32 weeks now. And so it's getting to the point where, could happen anytime. So that has also been on the back of my mind. But let's say hello to some peeps. Let's start off with YouTube fam. How's it going, YouTube fam? So let's see, we got Master Anakin Skywalker, who is here at 5:30. Hello, Master Anakin Skywalker. Wayne was here. JKD Buck 76. What is going on? Andrew Hoyle, who's a member on the channel. Thank you for being here at 6:17. 45 minutes before the show started. Got my ticket for Tenet on the 26th, he says. Nice. Andrew Hoyle, glad that you are living in an area that will be able to see Tenet a little bit earlier, rather around the time that it's originally being released. Yeah, once we actually have AMC's and Regals open here and we have tickets that are going out that far, I'm going to be interested to see if any of my local theaters are going to be one of the, I think a few stateside might be getting it that first weekend, or rather that last weekend in August, and not have to wait till September, but I think it really depends on where you are. HyperNex13, what's going on, good sir? Orange Hat Reviews, what's going on? He's a member on the channel, and said at 6:30, good evening, I've come from the land of Orange Hat to bid you a prosperous day and night. Well, thank you very much. Cobra Viber 999 Golden Rations in the chat, he tagged me at 6:47, said, good evening, Odin, good evening all. Hello, hello, hello. Andrew Hoyle's member says, I've come from the land of ice and snow, from the midnight sun with this hot spring flow. I totally messed up that last part of the line, but hey, forgive me. I'm trying to read things, and I'm tired. Aiden Vickery, what's going on, good sir? He's also a member on the channel. He says, Hail Odin. Tina B, Empress of the Universe, and one of my Valks is in the chat as well. If you try to start any trouble, she will take care of you and drop the hammer. 70 is indeed on the way, but she will be a little bit late. But that is perfectly fine. No problem at all. 13th Warrior in the chat. What's going on, 13th Warrior? Hope you are doing well. We got Waiting for Nodrotic, Laura, who's another mod on the channel. Thank you for being here. Always glad to see you. Mr. Peabody, who's both a mod and a member. What's going on, Peabody, over on YouTube? I'm sure that I'll be saying hello to him also in D-Live in just a little bit when I catch up with the D-Live fam. We got Bruce in the chat. What is going on, Bruce? How's it going? Robert Frey in the chat as well. How is it going? Make sure I'm catching up with everybody, making sure I'm not missing any member comments or anyone else that's popped on in. Let's see. Stream Elements is in the chat. I still have no idea if Stream Elements is a bot or if he's a real person. Again, I may have set that up a long time ago. I honestly don't remember. Soul Assassin. What's going on, Soul Assassin? Hope you are doing well. Glad to see you here. Alice McCarthy, who's a member on the channel, has been a member for a while. It says, howdy, Odin. How's it? Full on chicken nuggies and watching Blazing Saddles. That 3-minute thing was lame. So you're watching it on HBO Max then, according to that. Yeah, that's sad, man. I don't think I would ever watch it on HBO Max, knowing that there's a 3-minute trigger warning of someone trying to explain, well, okay, there's going to be things in here that might be offensive to you, but that's okay. Nonsense. No, thank you. I'm also at the point now where I'm strongly considering canceling HBO Max. If you were following me on Twitter earlier, apparently they are backing a movie that's set to come out soon where it's essentially a, I guess I can't say the word because YouTube just, every time the word comes out there, they just can't mention it, but a so-called, medical procedure where they kill a child, in the womb, that kind of thing. They turn that into a road trip comedy. Yeah. So that trailer happened, And at the very end, HBO Max, look forward to this, and it's disturbing. And even in the comment section, they're like people who say, people who are even saying, hey, guess what? I'm pro-choice, but this is what I personally think. Like, I think this is ridiculous that you're going to actually have a comedy road trip movie centered around the destruction of a life of a child. Like, that's just kind of a little bit too much. And it's like, if even the pro-choice people are saying this is too much, I'm sorry, but Girls tried to do it and failed miserably. If you've never watched Girls, don't waste your time. I watched the entire first season just so that I could have a good, proper understanding of the show. I didn't laugh a single damn time. And as soon as they went into one of those facilities and tried to start making jokes, I said, oh, man, these people are showing their true colors. But anyway, we got some people donated already. Eric K., thank you very much for that $5 super chat. He says, hail to you, teacher of the young and impressionable. Too bad teachers cannot use rulers anymore to keep kids in line, says Eric K. I will say this much. I'm happy to have students this year especially where that's not really necessary. And I would even say last year. I mean, last year there were some students that were definitely more rambunctious than the ones I have this year. But even them, I feel most of the time it was at the very least entertaining, and it was not something that I would ever think of even doing that. So now old school at this point, right? Back when I was in NOLA, that probably would have been better suited with that kind of thing, because there were a lot more issues there. And that's not just with kids I taught, it's also with other kids in the school overall. But yeah, that's a big nay today. James, thank you very much for a $1 donation via Streamlabs, and says, hi, Odin, do you think movie theaters will open for the rest of the year? Thanks and take care. James, thank you very much for the donation. Yeah, I do. I honestly think that this is the point. Do I think it's possible that they'll shut down again? Yes. Do I think there are certain states that are going to keep theaters from reopening? Yes. Do I think that there could potentially be, outbreak of cases, and then governors, mayors want to step in and shut the theaters down again, depending on the state you're in? Sure. I think that that's totally possible. But it looks like the chains, at the very least with AMC and Regal, are, because they're actually finally putting tickets back on their sites for you to buy in advance. That's a huge step. Because all the other times they were planning to reopen, it was always just the planning stage. They were like, hey, our plan is to open mid-July. Our plan is to open in time for X movie, right? And at the time, it was Tenet. And so I think that because of the fact they're actually putting movies on the books and tickets on the books and allowing people to buy those tickets, that's them saying, okay, it doesn't matter how many theaters can reopen or what the states are doing, we're getting our operation back up and running. And so that is much more than they've ever done previously. And so I think, yes, the theaters, the major chains at the very least, will be open very soon. Depending on where you are in the country and the world. And I think that they will remain open until the end of the year. However, I do suspect that AMC and Regal, especially any of the major chains, will probably be shutting down certain theaters or not reopening certain theaters by the end of the year as well. So if you're unsure of whether your local AMC or Regal or Cinemark is going to ever reopen, you'll probably know within the next month or two, because my guess is that also at this time, those companies are looking and saying, okay, how are these theaters doing before the shutdown? Does it make any financial sense to reopen them or to try to reopen them? And they could at this point be saying, all right, let's go ahead and open these ones that are going to be profitable, that are going to, have our best chance of success. And let's try and start selling off those other properties. So some people already know that. Some people already have ideas of theaters that are not going to reopen. That's what I personally think, James. So thank you for that. Bruce says, doing good, Odin. Don't you mean doing well, Bruce? And no, I don't teach English. I would sound, I don't think I could ever do that, because I would be correcting, and then speaking, I'd probably make one mistake. And then all you need is that one student just to call you out and be like, I'm done. I'm done. Orange Eye Review says, Odin, you sound very tired, my friend. Hope you're getting enough sleep. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I've been waking up randomly in the middle of the night. Again, could be a wide variety of things. The big thing I would say is my voice. If I had a stream last night, if I didn't do the Friday Night Tights where I could sit back and not talk for, several, minutes and, half an hour sometimes if they're talking about comics and I have nothing to add to the discussion, then I don't think I would have been able to do the stream, because my voice has been tired, and you can even hear it now. My voice is still tired. So that's why, it's one of those things too, where I would get home during the week and there might be something like for when the 15-cent tickets were announced and AMC was announcing their schedule. I could have made a video on it, but my voice was so tired. I just thought it just probably wouldn't be good. I need to have my voice to teach. And that's obviously where my priority needs to be right now, because at any point, really, from this point on, I could be pulled out for, having to take care of the wife and the baby who's on the way. So that is something where, again, my full attention needs to be there. And so, again, I am sorry. I sent some messages out to Patreon peeps. And I extend this out to my Subscribe Star peeps and anyone else who is used to like giveaways that I tend to do for those channels and the podcast with John Flickinger. We did finally an episode about a couple weeks ago, and so I'm going to try and get another one out for this month, because it should be about 2 podcasts a month. But obviously, with everything going on, it is going to be a little bit tougher, because doing a podcast with John, I love it to death, but I don't know if my voice would be able to hold out, because it would probably have to be during a week and not during the weekend. HyperX13 tagged me and said, "My brother, good to see you. Haven't been to a movie theater since January, and my last movie experience was 1917. I've kind of missed the theater experience." Yeah, I opened up the AMC Theaters app, and I was looking at my AMC account, my AMC A-list account, because beforehand I had it. And I didn't really use it very well, because I was looking at it, and the last movie I officially saw was Sonic the Hedgehog, and that was back in February. So it kind of makes sense, because things shut down early March, and so it makes sense that would have been one of the last movies I got to see. But there were other movies that I could have seen, and it's one of those things where I look back and I'm like, man, I was paying all these months for it, for the AMC A-list, and I really wasn't utilizing it. But I think I'm going to try and change that around, since obviously now I know what it's like to be without these new movies. But yeah, I'm right there with you, HyperX13. I've definitely missed the theater experience, and there's some movies like 1917, like you mentioned, that really should be watched in a theater. Nathan Slay, what's going on, good sir? Tagged and said, "Hey, my dude, I'm excited my theaters are opening back up. I really want to see Jaws and Ghostbusters on the big screen again." Yeah, I think Jaws was one of the ones that the Regal Theater near me has. Ghostbusters, I know, was playing at the regional chain that's been open for like a couple months now. But yeah, it's going to be cool to see what kind of movies they actually have on the big screen. Andrew Hoyle, who's a member, has a joke here. 15 cents for a ticket, $30 for popcorn. Yes, indeed. Yeah, those concession prices are probably not going down that all. They're probably not going down all that much. Grandmaster Yoda, what's going on, good sir? At 703 said, "The only good thing with CV19 was it made it 100% clear that Captain Marvel 2 will never make $1 billion. It's very unlikely. And I mentioned this last night a little bit on Friday Night Tights, where I think that we're living in an age now where, because now studios are looking at new revenue streams, like their streaming services, like PVOD, and they're going to probably try and put their indie films or their smaller films on POV the same day as theatrical release, if they can, or maybe just forego theatrical if the theater chains aren't going to work with them, right? Depending on the theater chain, then you could potentially see even their big films that they do release in theaters first, you could see them be negatively impacted. Because look at Mulan, for instance. They're offering that one for $30 to, quote unquote, rent/buy. It's one of these things where, apparently, according to the fine print, if you spend the $30 on Mulan, you will have access to it for as long as you have Disney Plus, which makes sense, because with the rental period, with it being, them charging $30 is a little too much. But if they do it that way, then, now you have a quote-unquote incentive, even though for me it would be like, okay, well, I wouldn't want to spend $30 on it anyway, let alone care if I, had access to it or not. But the reason why they're doing it is, as I mentioned in another stream too, right? It's on their server, because eventually it's going to be free on Disney Plus. And I think that is going to be a huge game changer. Is now you have studios like Disney that are saying, hey, yeah, if you just wait a few months, 3 to 4 months, you can get access to the movie for free with the subscription that you're already paying for. And for some people who don't need to see the theater right away, who don't want to risk going to the theater, hey, they'd say, okay, I'll wait a few months, and then I'll just be able to play it one day, and not have to spend the extra money. And because of that, though, I think that you're right. I think that it's going to be a lot harder for movies to make box office. Again, not talking about PVOD in addition to box office, in addition to any other revenue streams, right? Pure box office. It's going to be very hard for any movie, I think, to make $1 billion. Now, I could be wrong on that. We'll see what happens as these theaters start to reopen. I've just talked to way too many people that don't plan to go back, either because they're scared or they're nervous, or because they just don't want to support Hollywood anymore. Like, it's one of the two. And I think it's going to make up a large portion of theater goers, and I think that's going to have an impact on the bottom line. Twirly Wolf, who's a member of the channel, says, hiya, what's going on, Twirly Wolf? Glad to see you back. Cupcake Geek, what's going on? Says, hey, hola, Odin. How is Baby Thor doing? He's doing just fine. We had a class today that was pretty much all day, where we learned various skills and all the things we need to know about birth and all that stuff, which I already had some, good knowledge of. So, yeah, there were some descriptive videos that didn't bother me. But some of the other guys, some of the other husbands in the class definitely were more impacted by it. Let's see. Eric K, who's a member. Hail to you, good sir. Nathan Slaytagnan says, watching Jaws on the big screen for the first time sounds great to me. Love that movie. It's one of the greatest movies ever. Zachariah315 says, howdy, Odin. What's going on? Brad Noble's in the chat. Damn, Brad. Been absent so long and comes back and looks like he's trolling Tina. Don't throw the Empress of the Universe. She will put the hammer down. Slicer at 705 says, my local cinema cafe is opening back up. Sister was devastated when it turned to be the new Beauty and the Beast and not the classic airing on her birthday week. That is so sad, Slicer. Yeah, you hear, oh, Beauty and the Beast is coming to the big screen. Oh, wait a minute. It's the live action that nobody liked and no one wants to see. And then I'll have that one person say, I liked it. Sure you did. Mars Wants Movies. I see that name in the chat. It looks like a newer name to me. What's going on? How's it going? Nathan Slaytagnan again. It says, it's really funny how my movie theaters are playing classics like Empire, etc. And then along with them, Black Panther, etc. Classic movies and Black Panther. Yeah, seriously. Come see all of the classics. And then random Black Panther. And again, that's not just that movie. I'm sure there's other theaters and movies that are going to be thrown in, and it's just going to be a random hodgepodge of movies. And again, it's all going to come down to, what they're trying to get across, Kip Ellis just dropped this, and as the chat jumped on me, by the way, thank you very much for the $1.50 phallic unicorn. As I have picked that phrase up from being our Nerdrotic for so long. But anyway, please smash that like button. We got 73 people watching. Thank you very much for being here on a Saturday evening. On a Saturday. Ba-dum-ba. But again, thank you very much. But I'm going to go ahead and say hello to my D-Live fam. What's going on, D-Live fam? How is it going, D-Live fam? Let us see where we left off. So JKD-Buck76 was the first one over there and dropped a lemon donation. How's it going? Philly to Hobbit with the Pikachu. What's going on? Alexander's in the chat. Tagged and said, then you didn't have a notification of a stream scheduled. I stream at the same time every week. Every time. So, don't know what to tell you. I feel like I've told you that before. Captain Mr. Roy is celebrating a 12-month sub streak. Thank you very much, Captain Mr. Roy. 12-month sub streak over on D-Live. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Captain, my Captain. JD Buck tagged and says, was this week better for you? I hope you're doing better. Yes, thank you. It was much better as far as breathing. First day was awful, right? Friday was bad. Monday was a little bit better. And every day it got easier to breathe. It's just that thing that by the end of the day, especially since we have many of us have one less planning period, off period, compared to previous years because we've had to make the class sizes smaller, which means we have to all teach an extra class essentially, that it just means I'm more tired. Because more days than not, I'm teaching 5, where normally I would have taught maybe 4 or 3, depending on the rotation. And it was... So that has been something that I've had to get used to, but because we have a little bit more time between classes, it's definitely, I think, helped the students not freak out as much, and also, of course, I think it's helped us be able to not feel rushed. Captain Mr. Roy says, my Cinemark doesn't open until the 25th. Oh, no. Yeah, again, my local AMC, my local AMCs, both of them, not until the end of the month. And then, yeah, the Regal is opening with like 2 new movies, I think. Peabody says, for better or worse, taken to the limit. Australia, a man fought off a white shark attacking his wife. Holy crap, dude. Wow. That's insane. Fighting off a shark. Alexander says, solo flop because of CV. They're going to say, nah, not even they would say that. Not even they would say that. He then says, halt, Mr. Odin, you aren't allowed to watch Blazing Saddles. It's from a different time when people had fun. Now go home and quarantine. JD Buck says, family and career come first. We understand. Well, thank you, JKD Buck. I do appreciate the love. We got Will Gentry over there as well. What's going on, Will Gentry? Will Gentry, also thank you for the lemon donation as well, man. I do appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, I'm caught up on the D-Laugh fam. Hope everyone is doing well. But yeah, as you can see from the title, AMC theaters officially reopening. Tickets are actually on sale. Depending on where you are, you could get it for next week. Starting on Thursday, Friday of this coming week, actually, the 20th, 21st, you could potentially get 15-cent tickets. Now, you'll still have to spend the $10 for a popcorn and drink, etc. However, 15-cent ticket. That's a pretty cool deal. Even if it's just an older movie, that's still a pretty cool deal. I'm not going to lie. Part of me would probably still go if it was one of my theaters opening up that soon. But unfortunately, I am in the second wave of AMC openings. And so it'll be the week after that my locals are opening. But the Regal is indeed opening near me this week. That's just fun. And obviously, theater mask policy is going to be a very major part of it. So that's kind of the second part of the stream topic tonight, because it's going to be something that I think is going to cause issues, potentially. You're going to have people obviously saying, I don't want to wear a mask. How rigorous are the AMCs and Regals are they going to be on enforcing the mask policy? Are they going to simply say, hey, you only have to wear it as you're walking into the building, as you're walking in the halls, and as soon as you sit down, you can take it off? Are they only going to say you can take it off if you're eating popcorn and soft drink and things like that? Because obviously they're still going to have to sell that stuff if they're going to make any money whatsoever, because they make nothing from box office revenue. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they enforce the policy. And also, they're going to have social distancing too. And since a lot of movie theaters nowadays are all based in this mindset of you have to get your seats in advance, right? You have to actually, get a reservation prior. It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. Whether they are just going to, and I'll let you know as soon as the tickets open up for us, because they haven't opened yet. We just know if you go to the AMC app, it says, oh, your theater is scheduled to reopen on this date, right? So for me, August 28th, end of August. And so they say tickets will be available soon. It'll be interesting to see how they have it laid out at these theaters that do have the reserved tickets. Are they going to have already in advance say these seats are only available? Is it going to be if you buy a ticket, then automatically the seats next to you are going to be blacked out? Like, again, I guess there's different ways. I assume the best way would be to say, okay, we're going to shut off certain seats. That way you'll get in, and then you won't even have the option of sitting next to someone and breaking the rules, because the seat itself will be closed. So it will be interesting to see how that goes. And again, also keep in mind, I used to work at a movie theater, and Saturday nights, used to be crazy because, parents would drop their teenagers off at the theater, and sometimes the teenagers would just run amok and would just be running into screens, sneaking into radar movies. It's going to be a lot harder to do that, but also are they, for the employees, are they going to be enforcing policies a little bit more rigorous? Because now obviously they have to worry about keeping the seats clean and, between screens and everything else. So yeah, this mask policy and the cleaning policy, and as well, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the theaters handle it, how the moviegoers, how the audiences handle it, and also what they're going to expect. Because we have a lot of people, that watch the streams that talk about how, hey, I wear glasses and I'm not wearing a mask. If I have to wear a mask to watch a movie, I'm not going to do it because they're going to just fog up my glasses. And I totally respect that. Someone that wears contacts, if I didn't have that option, then I would probably be having the same complaints. I have students that have glasses and they're fogging up in class all the time. And so it's just one of those things where, I just couldn't imagine being able to enjoy a movie that way. At the same time, if I was one of those persons kind of nervous and I saw everyone in the theater who was sitting down without a mask on, again, what are they going to do? Are we going to have people like turning at people in saying, hey, there's a guy in my theater and he doesn't have popcorn, but he took his mask off? Like, is that what's going to happen? I'm assuming it will somewhere, at least once, but it'll be interesting to follow these events as they happen. Tina B tagged me at 7:08. It is 7:28, so I'm 20 minutes behind in the chat. As I always am. Tina says, so is Brie Larson in the chat or KK? Because they gave us a thumbs down. It usually happens. Usually before we even start, at least one person drops the thumbs down. Nathan Slay says, to trolls on the internet, do you want me to put the hammer down? Yeah, seriously. Tina will put that hammer down indeed. Brand. Simply Brand. It's a new name. Welcome to the channel. HyperX13, I heard the Dune trailer will come on August 21st for an Inception re-release, but it wouldn't surprise me if, like Tenet, that Dune gets postponed too. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it, because did they finish all the principal photography? Were they only doing post-production at this point with CG elements and things like that, where it didn't really affect their deadline, right? Were they ahead of schedule? Right? Was the December release a later release than they actually needed? They just wanted the film to come out during the holiday season? These are questions I don't know the answer to. So I think at this point, if we haven't heard it's been delayed, I think we can assume that it's still on schedule. Because I feel like any movie that was going to be impacted by this has already been pushed off until next year. Tina B says, road trip comedy about what? What the heck? Yep, you heard me correct. About a little procedure that ends a child's life. Nathan Slay, a comedy about killing a child, ridiculous. Damn right. Damn right. The Shiato, what's going on? Been a long time since I've seen you in the chat. What's going on? Andrew Hoyle says, road trip film about what? That is disgusting. Damn right, Andrew Hoyle. It is incredibly disgusting. And again, backed by the dollars of HBO Max. That's, again, why I'm very strongly considering getting rid of it. Alice McCarthy, who's a member at 710, says, I watched Girls. My brain hurt from watching it. Yeah, because it wasn't funny. It just wasn't funny at all. Slicer, I think, is going to make the only good point really about, or the only good thing that can really be said about Girls. He says, Adam Driver is a great actor, but man, he is in some turds. He needs a better agent. Yeah, Adam Driver was the best part of Girls. Seriously, he was the only good thing about that show. Because he is a good actor, you're right. But the writing for that show is so bad that it made even him look bad. Tina says, I heard yesterday that they have a trigger warning in front of Blazing Saddles, and I knew that was coming. So with that and their idiocy with Gone with the Wind, I'm one with HBO Max before I had it yet. Or sorry, she meant I'm done with HBO Max. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. And here's the other thing, too, about HBO Max. HBO Max really doesn't have any reason or logic for doing these things, because their service is not available for the vast majority of streamers. The vast majority of people with streaming devices like Roku's and Amazon's, that takes up the vast majority of the entire market. They still don't have their app. HBO Max is still not on Roku or Amazon Fire TV. They have still not made those deals. And so the fact that they're doing stupid crap like this, like funding movies that promote child killing, and now also censoring films and putting trigger warnings before movies, you're just trying to push away the people you do have? Like, seriously, like, it boggles my mind that they would think, oh, let's try this right now when we're, when we're struggling to get anyone onto our service because no one can use it. No one can use it. Waiting for Nerdrotic Laura says, Girls Show was mostly a nightmare, mainly because the lead actress couldn't keep her clothes on. I wish Adam Driver wasn't associated with that show. I wish he wasn't either, Laura. And you're right. Like, seriously, the whole show was all about Lena Dunham. And for those that don't know the show Girls, it's Lena Dunham, who's a disgusting individual for a wide variety of reasons. Pray for her so all the damn time. But she, yeah, literally she wrote in the show that she wanted, her clothes to come off every 5 seconds. Like that's what the show basically is. It's just her randomly getting naked. It's like, okay, I don't want to see that anyway. and because I know what I know about you, I definitely don't want to see it. And so please stop. Put it back on. Please, please, someone cover her up, please. For the love of God. Eric K. So for Eric K., it's just Odin question, all one word, no S's in there, and you don't have to put the @ symbol. But I did say, he says, you can be silent and still contribute more than Jeremy. I kid, sort of. Well, thank you, Eric K. I appreciate that. It was funny because I actually texted him during the stream last night because he did, me and him were totally lost because they did go on for about 30 minutes last night. It seemed to go on for 30 minutes. Maybe it was only like 10 or 15. They went into comics for that long. And at one point, I was just texting him. I'm like, are you as lost as I am? And he's like, yeah. And then as soon as he answered, he added in and started to try and engage and enter into the discussion by bringing up what he knows. And I was just like, yeah, I can't do that. Laura says, I read comics as a kid, mainly Batman, and I had a comic Bible, which was very cool. I envy people who have read comics for years or even decades. Same here, Laura. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, if I could tweak anything about my childhood, it would be to have been into comics instead. And yes, Eric K, I saw that. And also Eric K, just so you know, as a member, you actually don't have to tag me. It's one of the perks of being a member. All that I ask is that if you're talking to me, that you just don't put any tags whatsoever. And if you are talking to someone else, that you tag them at the beginning of the comment. That way I can skip it. That way I know if you're trying to talk to me or not. Kavitenyo Che. Hello, hello, hello. James Nalepeka. Nalepka. James Nalepka. How's it going? CW Trixie, what's going on? How's it going? Glad to see you, CW Trixie, back in the chat. And Slay Tagged and says, the best Ridley Scott movie. I hate when you put me on the spot. Nathan Slay, you always do this. Don't put me on the spot with questions like that. So random. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I literally put Ridley Slay because I was not ready. I have to look at his entire filmography now. I can't just pull my favorite film from him because he's done so many movies in his life. Based on this immediate list, Alien. It's not necessarily my favorite, but Alien. Stop putting me on the spot like that, dude. Come on. Need to prove what's going on. Says, theaters are opening. Fingers crossed for Cali. What are you seeing first? Yeah, Cali is a lost cause. Dean approved. Good luck is all I can say. For anyone in California, good luck if you're waiting for the major chains and also the theaters in general to open up. Unfortunately, the first film I might see is Unhinged with Russell Crowe. It looks so bad, but it's gonna be, I think, the only new movie available when my theaters reopen. I'm hoping that we get Bill and Ted. I'm hoping that we get Bill and Ted 3. So I don't know if I'm gonna wait until the AMC's open to see what they're going to offer, or if I just try and check out the Regal beforehand. Cavitenyo says, please tell you have a Mjolnir baby rattle. I do not, actually. I do not, though that does sound like a great idea. Eric K says, who's a member on the channel, Captain Marvel 2 will make $1 billion. Disney will buy tickets again. All right, well, okay. Why do people always have to bring this up? So, remember, when it came to Captain Marvel 1, the reason why it made over $1 billion was not because Disney bought tickets. All right, that was a conspiracy theory that was never actually proven. Okay, I could dive deeper into it, but I feel like I've said this and explained this 1,000 different ways. I know I have a video on my channel from around the time Captain Marvel was out, and I dispel that entire conspiracy. So don't buy it. Though I appreciate the joke. Tina B says, Brad Noble is trolling me, but we're good. He's still a pet troll. Yeah, he might be your pet troll, but he doesn't tag me in anything. He doesn't tag me correctly, so I don't read any of his comments. So I don't see what he's saying. So he might be your pet troll. But right now, he's not mine. Captain Wingster / General Wingster / he's changed his name so many times, I just don't even know what to call him anymore. He's the new pet troll, because at the very least, he tags me appropriately. At least he knows how to contact me. Nathan Slay, why in the heck would anyone prefer the remake of Beauty and the Beast over the original? Because people be crazy, yo. And also, to be honest, right, there are some people where maybe it was the first film they saw, maybe they saw it with a loved one, right? There's sometimes movies where even if they're not very good, there can still be a connection. Like, it was funny because I always ask my kids every year what their favorite movie is because it tells me a little bit more about them as people. And so there's always movies that get brought up where I'm like, why that one? And a couple of them, at the very least, brought up the fact that it was because they got to see it with a loved one. And so I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. So yeah, even bad movies can have a special meaning in someone's heart because of that reason. Eric K says, smash that like and show the love for your favorite Olden, or at least second favorite. Hey, that's not very nice. Final film comment. That's a new name. Welcome to the chat. Rob D, what's going on, good sir? Tagged me and said, hey, Odin, I recently picked up the Iron Man trilogy. Haven't watched 3 yet. Did you hear they want to cancel the movie 300 now? So you haven't seen Iron Man 3 yet? Don't go in expecting a good Iron Man movie. If you go in expecting a Shane Black movie, I think you'll enjoy it. I know I enjoyed it because I went in expecting a Shane Black movie. I like it better than 2. 2 has a lot of issues. And yes, I have heard that they want to cancel 300. Here's my problem with that, though. It's the reasoning they want to cancel 300. It's the reasoning behind it. All the identity politics nonsense, which is just stupid. Now, if they were going to go after it for being a bad movie, not really holding up today because of bad CG and a rough story and Zack Snyder really not being all that talented, I could get on board with that. But the fact that and I know I just triggered Tina, and if Steph is here, I triggered her as well, and other people that either are Zack Snyder fans, fans of 300, or fans of shirtless men. I've ticked off one of those three groups. I've ticked off one of them. But anyway, the reasoning they went after 300, though, is stupid and is completely ridiculous. So yeah, no movie, even a film like that where I don't like it, no film should be canceled. And it's ridiculous. It's so freaking ridiculous. Tim Elf, what's going on? Jace Doe, what's going on? Thank you again for sending me those codes. I need to add them to the library, and I'll probably put those up in a giveaway soon. By the way, if you're waiting on the results of the giveaway, if you're a Patreon or Subscribestar member, I'm going to try and get that done tonight because I want to make sure I can get those out to y'all while I am still in the mindset to be able to accomplish it. But Jace Doe, as a member, says, "Yo, Odin, dude, what's up? I say the theaters should play classic silent movies just to mess with people. See how many of the moviegoers that don't know think the sound system is busted." That could be it. I will say this much, though, right? Even in silent movies, though, you're going to have a score at the very least. You're going to have something playing underneath it. So it would be a good idea. However, most silent films don't just have no sound whatsoever. Nathan Slay tagged and says, "Thank God that Regal has lifted the mask policy as of now." I think it depends on where you are and what state you're in. Last time I checked, they still have the same policy that I believe AMC's wording isn't the same as Regal. Regal is kind of wording it in the way where if you sit down with a drink or beverage, a drink or a food item, that you can take it off like you could at a restaurant. Like once you're in your seat, you're good. And I'm pretty sure that AMC is essentially going to do the same thing. Difference is AMC, I don't think, has worded it in that way because obviously, they said they weren't going to do it, and then they got attacked by the Twitter mob, and then for some reason they decided to bow to the Twitter mob, even though the Twitter mob is not real people. Most of it's made up of bots and crazy people that have no life. But it's just one of those things that hopefully they are able to kind of step up and say, okay, here's how the actual policy is going to be. Twirly Wolf, as a member, says, "Odin, besides the film stuffs, are you reading anything lately?" Ooh, yeah. So I do audiobooks, and I mentioned this, I think, last night on Friday Night Tights. I'm currently listening to the last of the Old Republic series. So it was not a series of books like in order. It was this is the order in which they were released, and I think time frame wise, it had a chronology, but every book has different characters and focuses on different things, and so that's why for me I was like, okay, I can kind of read this out of order in the way that what interests me more. But right now I'm reading Fatal Alliance by Sean Williams, unabridged, read by Mark Thompson. Mark Thompson is, I argue, the best voice actor for any Star Wars novel. He does OG characters perfectly, and his ideas and concepts for the new characters is fantastic. So yes, I am currently reading Fatal Alliance. Eric K, what's going on? Again, tagged and says, "I do not know why people have a problem with private businesses making people wear masks. If they ask you to wear a pink tutu, it is their policy. If you do not want to wear one, do not go." Eric K, I'm right there with you, man. It's one thing if the government tries to make a policy, right? Because that's something where, elected officials, what power can they actually have? Private businesses, though, you're right. If they have a stipulation where, hey, you can't come in unless you do this, right? Guess what? You have the freedom to say, okay, well, then I won't shop there, right? And that's why, for me, I think that we should allow, essentially, businesses to do whatever they want. If I say this, if a business wants to discriminate against somebody, let them, because then guess what's going to happen? People are going to find out, and then they're going to stop shopping there, and then the business is going to shut down, right? So, like, if you have someone and everyone's like, no, we can't lift these laws because then people are going to discriminate again, and they're going to bring back the same restrictions. That's like, but if they do that in 2020, where most people don't think that way anymore, where the laws really aren't needed anymore, then guess what's going to happen? Their business is going to get shut down because no one is going to buy from them. If you don't like the mask policy for AMC or Regal, then you don't have to go there. It's simple. And that's what I would say too for anyone that's concerned or worried, right? If you have like the person that's there who's scared, and then they see someone without a mask on who's sitting down and maybe not eating popcorn or anything, if they go to complain, like part of me would say, no, if it's that important to you, if you're that scared, you shouldn't be at the theater anyway. Like, you shouldn't be sitting in a theater for 2.5 hours, however long the movie is, in circulated air, even if you are wearing a mask, because, it's ridiculous. Matt G, thank you for the $1.50. I'm assuming it's a super sticker, so I'll get there and I'll know what it is eventually when I catch up to the chat. But it's 7:27 in the chat, 7:44 in real life, roughly 20 minutes behind as I normally am. Rowan Ginger Raven, hello, I see you in the chat. Latino Slant is a member on the channel. Hello, 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 hail to you. Hologram Nunchuck, glad to see you here. Good sir. Good day and hail, sir. Hail to you. Operator Zero, what's going on? That's a newer name in the chat. How's it going? Let's see. Eric K, who's a member, says, I think I am the only people who thinks Adam Driver looks strange. No. Like, if you actually were to break down his look, yeah, he looks odd, but he's still a good actor. Chris P, what's going on? 13th Warrior tagged and says, I stumbled across a YouTube channel which reviews movie music sideways. Not a fan of live action remakes, just for the music. Yeah. Music alone can't save it. Kara Tharp, what's going on? See that name in the chat. Andrew Hoyle, who's a member, says, we don't get HBO in any form in the UK, thankfully, although they do have a deal with Sky for some of their bigger shows. Okay, so you do get access to some of the things. Yeah, eventually it will be released in other countries, and I would say it really depends on what you are interested in, because here's my problem with HBO Max and why I haven't just outright canceled it yet, even though I have every reason to. It's because the library on there is so good. Like, there's so many good things in the rich library that they have. They're offering a lot of content that I think is worth it for the subscription cost, especially when you look to all the Studio Ghibli films that they have, and the animations and the shows and the movies. It's just they have so many things. And that is like the only reason why I'm kind of just holding on at this point. But it's not going to take much more before I say, see ya. Super, what's going on? Super says, hey, what is up, my dude? Sorry I'm late. Don't think I can stick around, but wanted to say hi and drop a like. Well, thank you. Thank you, Super. I appreciate it. Dean approves. Says, first time hearing about Unpregnant. Sounds horrible. Yep. It sounds terrible. And the fact that they're trying to make it into a comedy disgusts me. Peter Han, what's going on? 13th Warrior tagged and says, I'm with you. The last comic I bought was when I was 12, 50 years ago. Damn. Well, thank you for being here. 62. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for the support. Let's see. Andrew Hoyle, who's a member. Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers makes me laugh when he goes on his big long speeches about his various channels, like he's like the Rupert Murdoch of YouTube. He is in a lot of ways. Now, if he can just start making that Rupert Murdoch money, and then I'll be set. Then I'll be good, and all of us will be. That would be fantastic. But thank you again for the love and support tonight, everybody, on YouTube. And again, if you're on YouTube watching, please smash that like button, as the chat has finally jumped on me. But luckily, no comments have been skipped, which is always a good thing. 736 in the chat over there, but let me catch up with my D-Life fam. What's going on, D-Life fam? Sorry it's taken me a little while. But let's see. Will Gentry, thank you again for that lemon donation. I appreciate it. Jake Buck says, say, rise up lights. You just said razor blades in Australian. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much exactly what happened. I don't know what I said. All right. All right. Someone new followed. Don't know if they're legit or not. Will Gentry says, Girls was basically Lena Dunham's personal body positivity and sex positivity project. It should never have been made. You're right. You're absolutely right, dude. That's totally what it is. That's a perfect explanation as to what that show was. It was not about comedy. It was not about story. It was all about Lena Dunham. And it was disgusting and ridiculous. Very disgusting. Alexander, the popular view is that movie companies are about money. I think all the hijackings and flops prove they would sacrifice a lot. It really depends, though, because when you look to even some of the bigger, like some movies that flop, like, for example, Birds of Prey, only lost around $30 to $40 million, which you think that's still a lot of money. Yes, but when you think about the different revenue streams that they'll have, right? So it's going to be available for video on demand. It's going to be available to buy on Blu-ray, DVD, 4K. And again, that's kind of hard to keep track of as far as what they make from that and how much they make from that and what the splits are there. And then also if they ever rent it out to any, if HBO, for instance, or put it out to any other, let's say, for example, they decided to make a deal with Netflix, they could make a lot of money from that deal, right? Regardless of my own personal thoughts about Birds of Prey or anyone's thoughts about Birds of Prey, when it's that kind of a film, it's harder to kind of, justify it. Obviously, you would probably say, well, Solo lost around $150, $180 million, depending on the number you look at. How could that make its revenue stream back? You're right. But then, even then, technically, you could go to how much money net profit films like The Force Awakens made, Last Jedi made, even Rise of Skywalker made, and it still would technically, for the series, be a net positive. Now, obviously, some people would bring up, yeah, but technically, if you look at the amount they spent to get the franchise, they haven't made that up yet. I have all that tracking on my website, and that is true. But I admit on there that there's a lot of things that I don't know, like how much they've made from licensing deals, which could be a lot. I mean, there's a lot of money that we have no access to. So it's a little bit harder to really say that about, as far as like what they would sacrifice, because even though if their film might lose money, as far as how much they paid versus how much they got on their return, in the end, they could still potentially make that money back. And so they're really not sacrificing anything at that point. Alexander then says, so Odin, all Asgardians who like Iron Man 3 must go, go a year in Frost Giant prison. Hell no. As I said, Iron Man 3 I like. I like Iron Man 3. I like Iron Man 3 a lot. Iron Man 2 not so much. Iron Man 3 is good. Again, Shane Black movie. It's a great Shane Black movie. Captain Mr. Roy, thank you for the 5 ice cream donations. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for being my captain, Mr. Roy. Appreciate you. All right, back over to YouTube at 7:36 over there. 7:51 in real life. So again, roughly 15, 20 minutes behind. Latino Slant, who's a member. California has drive-ins and business is booming. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. But even drive-ins have their limit because you have to start at a certain time because of the sunlight situation. And also, of course, you can only fit so many people. So, drive-ins, as cool as it is, and the business is doing well with theaters, indoor theaters being closed, even those still have limits. Nathan Slay tagged and says, is Spectre as bad as everyone says it is? I don't think so. Spectre was fine. Was it great? No. Was it fine? Yeah. I thought it was okay. It was fine for what it was. Skyfall is better. Skyfall is easily better. Casino Royale, I think, is the best Daniel Craig one. And here's the thing. Spectre is not as good as the other movies in that franchise. However, it's not as bad as Quantum of Solace. Quantum of Solace is a bad movie. That is a bad movie. Spectre, I would argue, is probably a good, out of 10, a good 3 or 4 points higher than any score that would be received by Quantum of Solace. Let's see. Laura says, OMG, what? Aliens is 1,000 times better than Alien. If he directed Aliens, those are fighting words, mister. He didn't. He didn't. And that's exactly what I said, Alien. You know, Laura, that I prefer Aliens. Aliens, I think, is a better movie because it's an action film. And I love action films. But don't forget, Aliens was done by, I believe, Jimmy Cameron. Jimmy Cameron. But yeah, James Cameron took over the reins for that one, and that's why it had a different tone and feel to it. But that was an action movie. Yeah, he did the first one. So the movies that came up that he did, the first one I saw was Alien, and that's why I mentioned it. Aiden Vickery, who's a member on the channel, says, I have a feeling Bill and Ted 3 will go the way of Zoolander 2. Well, we got some insight last night. So Tom from Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark got to see an early screening of it, actually. And he couldn't share anything because he was under, what's that word? It's not curfew. I don't know why curfew was the first thing. Embargo, essentially, though. So reviews are embargoed until a certain time period. And he basically said, guys, if it's really hard for me to tell you how I feel, without spoiling it, and that I don't want to spoil it for you, that should give you a hint as to how I felt about the movie. So basically, it seems that it's not a perfect movie, but it's a movie that fans will probably enjoy, and that makes me happy. So he said that on the woke scale for him, it was about a 3, which is about normal for any movie made in modern Hollywood, I feel. So yeah, I'm actually excited for Bill and Ted 3. CW Trixie, have you seen the news on Disney doing their own version of Star Wars Holiday Special, but going the Lego Star Wars route on it? I heard about it. I just don't care. I would rather watch the Holiday Special in all of its terrible glory. Brian Kim, what's going on? Tagged and says, I'm seeing so many movies with disc made in Mexico. I had a bad experience once with a gift for a friend. I bought Fallout 4 and it had a workout disc. Would you say it's no big deal? I haven't really noticed that. Yeah, I think some discs are made in Mexico, but I don't think that has really an impact on the quality necessarily. Nathan Slay, I know that I used to love certain weird movies when I was young. Yeah, it happens. I love certain weird movies even now as an adult. Laura says, oh, an appearance from Odin from the streets, yo. Maybe. Twirly Wolf, who's a member. Any religious films based around the Feast of the Assumption or centered around Mary? Ooh, that's a good question. Happy Feast of the Assumption, by the way. I'm trying to think about movies based on the Assumption. I don't think there are. At least not that are... There's always movies made about a wide variety of religious topics and events. Not all of them are good or worth recommending. I don't think any film has been made mainstream, at the very least, specifically about the Assumption of Mary. That could be a cool film, I think. But obviously a lot of it is kind of going to be draped in mystery. A lot of it would have to be based on the tradition of the church more so than anything else. As far as it being centered around Mary, though, I would argue The Passion of Christ is very Mary-centric. It talks about the human impact, right, of the loss of a child and how it had a tremendous impact on her. So that's still one of my favorite portrayals of Mary to this day. Sorry if that's kind of like it's like the go-to Catholic answer of, well, I guess The Passion. But it is a good movie. Soul Assassin says, that 300 article was pure cringe. Everything that writer said was false and she needs to relearn her history. Yep. And as I said, like the reasoning for her is total hogwash and terrible. But yeah. Tina B, I knew I would trigger somebody. Tina B says, Snyder is more talented than JJ, and I'm not a Snyder fan. I would argue, here's the thing. Talent to me is a hard thing to gauge because Snyder, I think, if he was just a producer, right, and he let someone else write and someone else direct, I think that he would be really well suited for that role. However, if I'm just going based off of the films they've done, there are more JJ movies that I genuinely enjoyed and still enjoy, where there really are no Zack Snyder movies I can think of that I would want to watch today that have aged well. So take that for what it is. Does that mean that I like JJ? No. Does that mean that I think his Star Wars is good? No. But it does mean that, for example, I use this movie as an example a lot, but it's, again, a film I enjoy. You don't have to enjoy it, but I do. Super 8. Does he borrow a lot from Spielberg? Hell yes. Is it essentially E.T. with taking different things? Hell yes. But I still enjoy it. Jace Doe's member says, I will say one good thing during this beer bug is the re-releasing of older movies in these companies' back catalog. Is giving me the chance to pick up a lot of movies I missed the first time around. Nice, Jace Doe. Yeah, dude. Not only them re-releasing it onto the big screen on theaters that are actually still open, but also, too, they're releasing a lot of stuff on 4K and physical media for the first time in high definition, which is also nice. Andrew Hoyle, as a member, says, my favorite Ridley Scott flick is Blade Runner, followed by Alien. Yes, Blade Runner is also a good shot. I almost said that one, but I was like, if I had to choose one to watch, probably Alien. Again, I do like Blade Runner, but Alien a little bit more straightforward. Nathan Slade tagged and says, I feel like the decisions to make the Mandarin a joke was annoying, almost like Shane Black went Rian Johnson on us. Here's the thing, Nathan Slade. He wasn't the Mandarin. That was the whole point of that, was that he was not actually the Mandarin. And they actually went so far as to do a one-shot that's on the Blu-ray, or it's on the 4K Blu-ray at this point, DVD maybe. And the one-shot essentially is, Trevor. Again, I thought the reveal was hilarious. Again, I was watching it as a Shane Black fan, and I thought it was great. I thought it was so funny. But I can totally understand why people who are comic fans who love the villain in the comics as the Mandarin to see that and say, this is terrible. You had a great actor and it could have been awesome. And oh, this is a weird twist. And again, sorry if I spoiled it, but it's been out for a long time now. So I feel like at this point, if you haven't seen it yet, you're not really protected from spoilers. But the one shot goes into him, Trevor, being in prison. And essentially you have the actual Mandarin not making an appearance, but his group, right? Was it the 10 Rings or something like that? Again, I'm not knowledgeable enough about that to say it with confidence, but essentially them coming in to get Trevor because he was impersonating the actual Mandarin. So that's why, another reason. So I enjoyed it even before the one shot. The one shot, I think, made it even better because then it makes you realize, oh, they can still do the Mandarin at this point, and it would not be a retcon, and you still can enjoy that Mandarin twist. At least I did. I know not everyone did, but I did. Jay Stowe says, you're right, Odin. That was a brain fart on my end. Didn't think of the music score. And the silent movies is no problem at all, dude. I'm sure that I wouldn't have thought about it if I was the one that had tried to point it out. Hamish Tragedy 89. Thank you for the Canadian $5. He says, hello, Odin, Steph, and Tina. FYI, my first ever Greek mythology stop motion flick is up. Would love if you gave it a watch. Well, Hamish Tragedy 89, thank you for letting me know, man. Yeah, send me an email, send me a DM on Twitter, Discord, wherever it is that you can, contact me with a link, and I'll try and watch it. Thank you very much for that super chat. Nathan Slay tagged and says, I watched a video by a YouTuber called High Top Films, and it was about how Batman doesn't kill. In fact, he talked about how the Martha moment would be impactful had Batman did not kill. Yeah, and that just reminds me of all the things I just don't like about Batman v Superman and all that stuff. Matt G sent a phallic unicorn earlier, so thank you very much, Matt G. There it is. 17 minutes ago, he sent me that as a super sticker. So thank you. I appreciate it, Martha. So cringe. Hybrid X13, I think Adam Driver would make a good young Snape. Ooh, I think you're right. At least in the version that was established in the movies. Because even my wife said that the books have a very different, like if you just read the books, the vision of Snape you would have would not be the version that we got in the movies. However, the version we got in the movies was amazing. And so, yes, based on the movie's rendition, you're correct. And this is someone that's speaking not as a huge fan of the books, not that I don't like the books, but as someone that is not well-versed on the books. My wife, on the other hand, huge fan of the novels, huge fan of the books. She's listened to it and read it, several times over, and she could tell you pretty much almost anything. All right, chat jumped on me at 7:47, so 13 minutes behind still on YouTube, but let's go ahead and try and catch up with the D-Laugh fam. Hello, D-Laugh fam. Let's see. Alexander says, Gwyneth Paltrow went full Ray on the villain and beat him in 10 seconds. She didn't go full Ray, though, because she was infected with that thing that I forgot what it was, so it still made sense. Again, there's certain things I can understand why subjectively you wouldn't enjoy it, like the suits getting exploded, like, you wish the suits would have stayed, and the decisions that he makes, right? Some of them you might say, I'm critical of that. But as far as it being coherent, story-wise, most of it, again, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but most of it, coherently, at the very least, makes sense. So again, because she had this thing in her, it makes total sense why she would be able to do that. So, anyway, Nathan Slay at 7:47. I remember in Spider-Man Far From Home that there was a suitcase Peter had with Uncle Ben's initials on it, BFP. You have to wonder if his full name is Ben effing Parker. That could be cool. Joseph Nash, thank you for being in the chat. I saw that name. Let's see. Jay Stowe, as a member, says, seeing the PS5 and Xbox X, it looks like we were having a router versus a Borg cube as far as how they look. Yeah, at the end of the day, though, to me, it makes no sense to get the Xbox over the PS5 because all you need is a good PC. Because Xbox games will play, you'll be able to play all Xbox titles on your PC as well. And so if you have a good PC, you don't need the Xbox. Whereas with the PS5, if you want those PlayStation exclusives, which based on the reveal, there's maybe a couple on there that are somewhat exciting, then that's the only system that makes sense to actually get, because you won't be able to play those games on PC. You won't be able to play those games anywhere but PlayStation. So again, if that's your game, it just doesn't make sense for anyone, I feel like, to get an Xbox. Unless you don't have a PC or you don't want to build a PC. Or I feel like nowadays you can build a cheap gaming PC and it can be a PC and also do everything else that you ever might need it to for the same price that they're going to charge for the Xbox. Maybe even a little bit less, to be honest. Especially if you go the Ryzen route. Dean Approved at 751 says, the Lightning Strikes Rise of Resistance even got as sick of Disney's bullcrap. I did hear about that a little bit. Nathan says, okay, so does Shane Black put twists in his movies with subversion of expectations? Also, I prefer Iron Man 2 over Iron Man 3, not because it's good, but because Iron Man 3 annoyed me. And I can see why it could annoy people overall. But here's the thing. You can subvert expectations, and it's fine. Right? Subverting expectations in itself is not a bad thing. It becomes a problem when you're doing it for the sake of doing it, and it does not work with the plot. And in a lot of ways, it just fights against the plot. And the reason why Rian Johnson's is worse is because he took characters that have been established for 30 plus years and destroyed them with those subversions. And he took a story that was first put up and established by J.J. Abrams and decided, okay, I don't care about what came before this movie or after this movie. All I care about is me. That's a little bit different, right? Shane Black had the third movie, and many believed at the time that it was set to be the last of the standalone Iron Man made movies. So Shane Black really didn't have to worry about that nearly as much. And again, if you go in there and you expect a Shane Black movie, I think that you'll come out feeling a lot happier about it. Versus, again, if you're an Iron Man fan and you're a fan of the comics, might not be nearly as happy. HyperX13, this is a silly question for fun, but if you had a day to become an animal for only one day, what would it be? A falcon, a lion, a shark? Well, if you mean out of those options right there, probably a falcon, just to be able to find out what it feels like to fly. That would be awesome. That would be cool to know what it's like to fly. If I had to choose any animal in the world, though, I guess a dog. I know that people can say some terrible things that happen, but at the end of the day, get to sleep most of the day, eat, go to the bathroom, cuddle. Just seems great. Just seems great for a day, though. In this hypothetical impossibility. Hologram Nunchuck tagged and said, agreed, Casino Royale is the best Craig Bond film. Skyfall is right on its heels, though. I agree with you there. Cinematography in Skyfall is superb. Oh, dude, Skyfall has so many good things going for it. Like, it's a great movie. That's a movie that should have gotten nominated the year that it came out, but of course, that was a year the Oscars were like, hey, we're not going to give you 10 total nominees because we're stupid. Wayne, what's going on? I see you in the chat. Stephanie B is here. What's going on? Stephanie B says, hello there. My dad's back home safe and I'm off the road. Glad to hear it, Stephanie B. Glad to hear it. Very happy to have you here, the General of the Valkyries. Hypernex13, yo, Mr. White, when are you going? Yo, Mr. White, when are you going bald? We need to know the way and cook blue meth again. I think we're going to try and do a little beard trim tomorrow. And so I think tomorrow, potentially, in the afternoon, maybe, I might be able to go bald again. Because it's going to be like a little trim just to like get it more even. Not really cutting off much for length. At least I'm going to try and push for that. But just to have it look a little bit neater. And then I'll probably also ask for help getting the hair down. That way I can shave it in the shower. So could be happening as soon as tomorrow if things go according to schedule. Andrew Hoyle, who's a member, says Passion of Christ was a very good movie, even if it's hard to watch as a Catholic. Absolutely, Andrew Hoyle, you're right. It's very hard to watch, and yet it's such a well-made movie. It really is. Tina B is calling me out here saying, is Odin coming to J.J. Abrams' defense? Yeah. Not on everything, but on certain things. Tina V says, my main support for 300 right through here is that I hate people that want to cancel any history story. Thermopylae, in reality, was a crucial battle in saving Western civilization. Oh, no, trust me. Like, I think that anyone that now is defending 300 in lieu of this article go right ahead. Like, I think that to me makes total sense because, again, Tina has a different perspective on this because she is more of a historical mind. For me, I don't know much about the history. And so when I look at the movie, all I see are really bad slow motion fight scenes and really bad CGI green screen that hasn't aged well. And so that's kind of the lens that I look at through. But yeah, we all look at movies and, TV, etc. through different lenses. And so all of us, therefore, are going to have different opinions about it in the end. So that's why I always appreciate Tina's take, because it's normally one that I would just never have thought to take. Someone in the chat put Martha. Exactly. All right, looks like I am caught up there. Again, thank you for being here. We still got around 74 people watching. Again, if you have not smashed that like button yet, please go ahead and do so. I would really appreciate it. All right, let's see. Let me just find where we left off there. Looks like we're not too far behind at this point, actually, which is good, because we're getting close. Not quite there yet, but getting close towards the end. Back over to D-Lab. JKD Buck says, what is your opinion of Rey going back in time to mentor Luke Skywalker in the Force? I haven't heard that yet. Is that a rumor? If that actually does happen, that will be incredibly stupid and terrible. I really hope it doesn't happen. So yeah, that's my thought on it. Alexander says, Stark's suit in Iron Man 3 was a sugar glass Mark 42. I don't get that. I don't understand that. Nathan Slay, but what exactly is Shane Black's style of filmmaking? I guess I don't know. He's known for making those kind of quirky comedies that don't follow the typical rules of comedy. So I think that might be the reason why. Like, that's why, for example, you can go to the more recent Predator movie. As a Predator movie, it's terrible. Like, if you go in expecting Predator, you're not going to get it. And there's some problems even with that movie, like some objective issues that I can even admit saying, okay, no, the story has some problems, especially with the way it says, okay, we're going to take a kid with, I forget what he has. I know he's on the spectrum in some fashion. And that because he's on the spectrum, that's how he's able to do all these things. Like, that to me was like a little bit of that, really? That's how you're going to go with it? But Shane Black overall is kind of known for that. If you want to see some really great Shane Black, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, phenomenal comedy that he made back in the day with a great cast. And then I would also say The Nice Guys, also fantastic comedy, hilarious with a great cast. Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe in the film. And they do a great job with it. So, yeah, I guess because I knew of Shane Black's filmography and I was a fan of it beforehand, I went in thinking, oh, that's the guy that did this. And that's why I was able to enjoy it. Dean Approved tagged and says, Ryan Johnson sat in George Lucas's sandbox, peed in the box, broke the sides, kicked the sand around, dumped a scoop of it in the house, not even angry, just fact. Yes, Dean Approved, exactly. So that's why Ryan Johnson's version of Subversion of Expectations is a bit different than the other ones. Is a little bit different, that's for sure. Oh, lordy. By the way, I've seen this happen now a couple times. Joseph Nash, if you're trying to get my attention, you have to type Odin question, all one word, Odin question. That'll highlight orange, and that will let me know you're trying to get my attention. I do have to stick with that method, though. There's a method to my madness, and it keeps me sane. So if I started looking for things that weren't orange, that would drive me insane. Let me go ahead and jump back over to the D-Laugh fam. JKD Buck 76 says, yes, Overlord DVD put a vid up about it. Oh, lordy. Well, obviously, Doomcock has indeed been putting a lot of rumors out there. What I do love about Doomcock and about a lot of, bounding to comics, etc., they always clearly state, this is rumor, this is what I'm hearing, and they separate that from what is factually been confirmed at this point. So if that does happen, that's stupid. I just don't buy it. I really honestly don't buy it. I'm not saying that anyone's lying. I'm just saying it just seems so far-fetched that it sounds like something that someone would be fed as information when in reality it's something where they're like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Let's see. Mr. Peabody tagged and says, if Rey went back in time to mentor Luke, Yoda must be useless, pretty much. And then JKD Buck says, the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special, I kid you not. Yes, so someone did mention that earlier, and I know I had read about that as well. And that's just so stupid. I would much rather watch the actual holiday special and see the cringe that is that movie instead. Luckily, it's still on YouTube. So, George Lucas, you tried to destroy all the copies you could, but it's preserved forever. Tina B, Clownfish TV, and Doomcock have both reported that Rey will go back in time in the new holiday special and will supposedly teach a young Luke. They just won't let the trash die. I gotcha, Tina B. Okay, so in the holiday special, in the Lego holiday special. So, here's the thing, though. If that happens and it's the Lego and they're calling it the Lego holiday special, that seems to indicate non-canon. So if it happens in that thing when it's just Legos and it's already trying to be in the same vein as the original holiday special, that doesn't concern me as much. So, okay, yeah, if that's just happening there and not in like an official TV series or a comic or a book, right? Because they're still trying to fix the mess that was Rise of Skywalker. If it was happening in that world, then I would say, okay, no. But if it's gonna be, again, if it's gonna be on a Lego based version of the holidays, that doesn't, again, is it stupid? Yes. Does it bother or concern me? Not really, because that really screams non-canon to me. So why? I don't know. Not my thing. Not really something that I would be concerned with. Nathan Slay tagged and says, Iron Man 1 is the best Iron Man movie. Also, the Iron Man suit has been looking worse because it's simply complete CGI. It looked better when it was all practical effects back then. Okay, well, correction, Nathan Slay. The first Iron Man movie did not have all practical effects. No chance. Much of that suit was CG.
Sorry, I didn't understand, but I found something else. You want to know which a correct sentence is?
No. Listening in on my conversations, I tell you, I don't know if y'all could hear that, but that was one of those little Google machines listening in. Wasn't even talking to her. But anyway, just to correct you, Iron Man 1 did not have all practical effects. Much of that suit was CG. Much of it was CG. So, yeah, that's incorrect information. I will agree Iron Man 1 is the best of the Iron Man movies. There's no doubt about that. Standalone Iron Man films, 1 is like amazing. 2, some good moments, some bad moments overall. 3, some good moments, some bad moments. I would argue more good moments than the second one, but then still has issues. First one is the only really good Iron Man movie, which is sad because you would think that would be all, 3 knocked out of the parks easy, but not the case. Not the case. Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father. I appreciate you very much, Father. Thank you for being here. Orange Chat Review says, Odin, I am orange. This is correct, Orange Chat Reviews. You are. Too bad you don't show up as orange in the chat. Now that would be a trip. Now that would indeed be a trip. Nathan Slay tagged and says, I enjoyed Ragnarok, but there's some problems with it. I think it's annoying with going overboard with humor, but I guess what else should you expect from a Taika Waititi movie? Again, I went in expecting a Taika Waititi movie, and I got just that. I got a great character called Korg. Korg was great. Korg was hilarious. And yeah, trust me, I understand why comic fans especially don't like Ragnarok. Totally understand it. But as someone that's not a comic person who's just looking at it as a movie, it's very well done, and it's really funny. So I actually thoroughly enjoy Ragnarok. I think it's very funny, and Korg is the funniest. Father Christopher Miller says, I must watch the Star Wars Holiday Special with the riff tracks, Mystery Science Theater 3000 commentary, playing in the background. It exists. I believe you. Pretty much a lot of stuff done by riff tracks is pretty damn good for the most part. 70B says, type Odin question to grab his attention. Thank you very much, 70B, as you put the little guy with the little monocle on. Very, very fancy of you to do that. Very, very fancy. Yeah, Google using black magic. Pretty much. Miss Modern Muses. Hello, Miss Modern Muses. Welcome to the channel once again. Reminds me, I'll have to get that set up soon. My August Chosen of Valhalla stream. Depending on how things are going in school with The Voice, I might have to take the Saturday stream off on that weekend when I figure out what weekend we're going to do that. Because I don't know if my voice could handle Friday Night Tights, Saturday stream, Sunday stream, Tuesday stream. I don't think I could handle it. But that reminded me. I'll have to get that set up very soon. I'll have to get that set up very, very soon, my friend. Very, very soon. Yes, the best line from Iron Man 2, by the way. I want my bird. I want my bird. One of my biggest problems with that movie is him. Just that accent he does, and the beginning when he does the scream. It's so cringe. It's so cringe. I want my bird. Again, it's funny to say, but it's something where it's like, I don't know. It's like it's not funny in the way it should be funny. It's funny I'm laughing at you, not that I'm laughing with you. You get the difference? Joseph Nash, thank you for the $5 super chat, man. Dude, all you had to do was just tag me, but I appreciate the super chat still. Thank you. He says, I respect you, Odin. You are a funny and nice guy. I love your old man impression of Gary on Friday Night Ties. Oh, well, thank you very much, Joseph Nash. Appreciate it. I love doing the old man voice of Gary, too. Because, like, part of him over time, I think, has started to appreciate it more. But I think there's a small part where he's just like, God damn it, I'm not old. He's like, I'm young, I'm vibrant, I can't, I love it. But I'm glad that he's embracing it more than he used to. And thank you, Joseph Nash. I appreciate it, man. Miss Modern Muses, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. She says, happy Feast of the Assumption, celebrating 26 years in the church today. Congratulations, Miss Modern Muses. Happy birthday. Happy welcome day. I don't know exactly what the correct criteria is, but congratulations, 26 years. On being in the church. Yeah, it's something where I hate when the Feast of the Assumption falls where it is right now, because the church that I go to, it's great. It's offering, traditional Latin Mass a lot, but when it comes to things like this, it would be so cool if they were to follow the traditional calendar, like by the book, and actually have like a legit Mass schedule for today for the Assumption. But I believe that our church, and the reason why I did not go to Mass today was because I think the way that our church works is we get permission from the bishop to essentially move major feasts like that to the Sunday instead, which I think may have been allowed prior to Vatican II. That stuff I'm still learning, because when it comes to the traditional rites, there's a lot of stuff I don't know, which makes sense because all that stuff got changed long before I was brought into this world. But it is something that I am genuinely interested in. So, because I'm serving tomorrow, I'm learning how to be a thurifer. It's a fun word, a thurifer. I'm the dude that's going to be taking care of the incense, basically. But I like the word thurifer, so I'm learning that role in the Mass tomorrow, which I'm excited for. But congratulations, Miss Marty Muses, and thank you very much for the support and for being here. Dean approved. Tagged and says, that Google device laughed without you talking to it? Yeah, pretty much. It was just talking to me. And I was like, it is interesting because there are certain things that you say and you don't think that it sounds at all like the trigger words, and yet somehow the device thinks that it is. Kind of makes me wonder, should I put it on mute on most occasions? I don't know. Father says, question for the chat. Is anyone going to Vegas for the Nerdrotic get-together? Oh, it's a good question. Good question, Father. I know I don't currently have plans for it because I think it's happening, this year, right? Like in a couple months, a month or two? And but when that happens, baby boy is going to be in the world. So definitely will not be able to spend money towards that, let alone leave the wife and the child. 13th Warrior, did you watch/like Jojo Rabbit? I have seen Jojo Rabbit. It was a movie where it's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie. It's a fine movie. It's fine for what it is. There's some moments that are well done in it, but it's a movie that I think I was expecting it to be funnier than what it was. And so when it wasn't funny, or as funny as I wanted it to be, I therefore came out of it thinking I'm disappointed because I was expecting more. James, thank you for another download donation, says, which Sam Raimi Spider-Man do you think is better, 1 or 2? I like 1 the most. I prefer 1. I do. I know a lot of people swear by Spider-Man 2, and much of Spider-Man 2, I would say, is very, very good. However, that ending with the damn wedding dress running that shot makes me cringe every time. It just makes me cringe every time. And that first movie, too, just has great origin story and just a lot of great characters. And then, of course, come on. Bonesaws ready! Macho Man's in that movie. How could I not love it more? Nathan Slay tagged me and said, Iron Man is a classic in the superhero genre, and the Avengers is a Phase 1 classic. First Avengers is genuinely underrated to me. I like it a lot. Every Cap movie is super solid. Most of them are. I don't like the first Captain America movie. I don't like it. I think it's a movie that I've grown to like more as time has gone by. But when that one first came out, I hated it, and it was because of the CGI. Because there's that scene, there's several scenes where there's like these giant CGI tanks, and Cap is in front of it, and it just looks so bad. It just looks like blatant green screen CG crap. I just, not my thing. As you all know, I can be a stickler when it comes to CG. Oh, man. Let's see. Let us see. All right. Looks like I'm catching up. Looks like I need to start trying to wrap things up, though, a little bit. So, y'all were slow, and then y'all sped up. So, thank y'all for being here. 81 people watching. Smash that like button, please. Let me go ahead and jump over to the De La Fam. Alexander says, see, Iron Man 3 has degraded you to the point you think Rey mentoring Luke is worth speaking about. Alexander that says, remember when you told me Bob Iger was not behind the Lucasfilm SJW-ness? Hope I'm not talking too much. I don't know what that question is supposed to convey. So you might be, because I don't know what you were trying to say about that. Anyway. Eric K, back over to YouTube. Eric K, Thor Ragnarok is entertaining, but Hela is Loki's daughter, comics and mythology. You cannot change mythology. Is that really the case? Is that right? What is that? I've never claimed to be an expert on this, by the way. But Kate Blanchett was fantastic. That's just... let's go ahead and let's look into it. In the film, she is the firstborn of Odin instead of Loki's daughter, as well as the first Asgardian to wield Mjolnir and helped Odin in the Conquest of 9 Realms. Okay, so it looks like comics and in mythology. Yeah, so someone that's not an expert in either didn't even notice, and it worked out fine. So, but I can understand why that would frustrate you and other people. As I said, comic fans, I can understand how that movie would frustrate people. Hybrid X13, you want your bird, give me rent. Mr. Dijovic, Spider-Man 3. Dude, there used to be someone on YouTube, I think he's still there, and I think he even follows me on Twitter, and he has the name Mr. Dijovic, and literally he would just come in to random streams, tag me, and then say, rent is due. And then he would do it to me on Twitter randomly, too. It was always funny. It was great. Super says, the biggest problem with Ragnarok and Iron Man 3 is the humor destroys the dramatic tension. Waititi is funny. Black makes amazing buddy cops, but he needs to stick to them. Well, yeah, again, I can understand why people wouldn't like that, but as someone that likes comedies, I don't mind laughing in Thor Ragnarok. For Iron Man 3, right? I don't mind laughing because I like comedies. Nathan Slay, I love Batman Begins and Dark Knight because they really stay true to the character of Batman in the comics. 13th Warrior, I object the old man impressions. They make me, what was I saying? What was I saying, Rich? I don't quite remember. Father Christopher says, your church don't have a Sunday morning mass? Saturday morning mass? They do, it's just not in the traditional rite. I'm almost exclusively Latin mass now. And so I could have gone, but I couldn't have gone today anyway because I was at child rearing. I don't know how to explain it. Learning how to be a father classes with the wife. And that was from like 9 until 3. So I honestly didn't even have a chance to go anyway. Golden Ration. Church I go to had the mass today. Again, yeah, I mean, as I said, I think that churches, again, in the ordinary form, yes. The Latin Mass, though, not mine. 13th Warrior, does your church promote the Eastern Orthodox beards? No. At first, I thought you were going to say, like, the Eastern Orthodox beliefs, and I'm like, well, not really, because it's... But the fact you said the beards, I'm like, maybe they would support the beards, just not out loud. Tina B says, a thurifer. Let me pronounce it better. A thurifer. But it's thurifer. How is that spelled? I've never heard that term used before tonight. So it's Thurifer. Thurifer. Look at me winning the spelling bee. Thanatos Felicitas. When is the Nerdrata get together? I actually don't know. Slash of Neons. Does no clay doodle get it set off? No K Dougal. Doesn't sound like it. If she starts talking to me,
okay,
oh, it did. It did. It did, actually. Oh, my Lord. Technology, so smart, still so stupid. Oh, lordy, 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 lordy. All right, let's catch up with everybody. Let's see anything going on over here. JKD Buck says, if you're wrapping it up, I'll say thanks and have a good night. Thank you, JKD Buck 76. Yes, I am now going to try to rattle. Now going to try to wrap things up. See, Nathan Slay, Spider-Man 2 is better to me because it's just more relatable movie, more emotionally satisfying, and I love the story of First Avenger. It's just an inspiring story. Again, glad that you enjoy it. Orange Chat tagged says, Odin, if it wasn't for the fact I respect you, I would give you a bop on the head. Cap 1 is great. Shame on you. Just kidding. The CGI could be better. They should go back and try to do touch-ups. Yeah, it's interesting, though, that a lot of films don't do that. You know, you don't really see movies going back and changing CGI. Like, it's amazing that studios will say, yeah, let's go back and edit things that are problematic out, instead of, hey, the CG's gotten better since then. Let's actually make it a better movie. Like, for me, I think as a studio, you can make money if you said, hey, you know this movie that came out that was revolutionary at the time? We're going to re-release it with new and updated effects that actually look better and like actually fix the movie or help the movie, right? Imagine if, for example, they were to actually do something with Tron. Like if they could somehow do something, it would be harder because that was with film and not all computers. Because if you had it all computers, then you could have the actual footage of the actor in front of the green screen or wherever, and then you could literally just change everything to make it look better. Now, again, I do think that there's problems with that because, especially when you go to older films, there's that nostalgic factor where, no, that's the best they had at the time. I don't want them to touch it. But you see what I mean? Like they could, you know, they could essentially do something to that effect in certain ways. Andrew Hoyle, who's a member, says, the thing I can't understand about superhero movies is how during the finale, the hero's mask helmet always gets damaged, torn off, so we can see the actor playing the character, you know, in case we forgot. I'm sure it's in their contracts. It wouldn't surprise me. Slash of Neons. You want to go through a mind vendor? Look up who Hella's mom is. Oh, Lord. Hella's mom. Angerboda. Hela was born to her father Loki and her giantess sorceress mother, Angerboda. Hela's siblings are the Fenris wolf and Midgard serpent. Must be difficult to be the sister of a giant wolf and a serpent that can coil around and crush the 9 realms, but that was Hela's lot in life. Oh, that's great. Oh, Lord. Mother Angerboda. A giant, you say. Interesting. Nathan Slay, would it be a bad idea to get Shane Black to direct a dramatic movie then? Probably, because that's not really his style. Does that mean that he couldn't do one? Not necessarily. There are plenty of directors that have done mostly comedies that can also pull off dramatic very well. So, Legit 36. Have you seen Nightcrawler? I don't like it as much as most people. Maybe I'll give it a second watch. I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's one of Jake Gyllenhaal's best performances, and it was one of the most underrated films of that year. So, yes. Super says, I like comedies too. The Devil's Butthole was just a bit too much for me. See, just saying the name makes me laugh. Let's see. Father Christopher Miller says, Thurifer, if they aren't coughing, you're not using enough incense. Boom! There's Father dropping the Catholic humor. Tina says, my word of the day now. Thanks. You're welcome, Tina. Always glad to add new words. Nathan Slay, technology is getting creepy. Yes, it is. You know, we got my parents one of those Google minis, or no, maybe we didn't get it. Someone else did. Yeah, someone got them it, and I had to set it up. That's why I thought we had gotten it, but instead it was because I know technology, I could help set it up. But it's funny because I told them, oh, by the way, there's this little mute switch if you ever want to, you know, have some privacy. And every time I go home, it's just unplugged. And I'm like, do you even use it? And they're like, sometimes, but we just leave it unplugged. I'm like, I get it. Trust me, I get it. But there is a mute switch on this one. So you can actually turn the microphone off. Unless, of course, Google's lying and it claims to be off and it's actually not. Eric K. Plus Thor, the god of thunder and lightning, getting a shock and dropping like a leaf. He is a god, for God's sake. Yeah. But again, I think in the movie realm, the way they establish it is consistent with everything else that's in the movie. Again, taking everything else out of it, I'm just looking at the movie. In the movie world that's being built, it's consistent. That's my big thing. If the movie is consistent within itself, I can usually let a lot of things go. If it's not consistent in itself, like for example, Endgame, and it's inconsistent talking about time travel, that drives me insane. Joseph Nash says, "You're a good man, Odin." Thank you very much, Joseph Nash. Appreciate that. I appreciate you, good sir. Thank you. Golden Ration says, "Unless it is a big button, then they won't use it." Pretty much. Pretty much. That's how parents are. Alice McCarthy, Google Assistant is Skynet. More or less. No question about it. But anyway, I am now caught up over on DLive and caught up on YouTube. So thank you all so very much for being awesome, amazing, and beautiful people. Thank you all so very much for the love and for the support. The Matrix glitch again. Sound is gone. Uh-oh. Hello. Can thou'st hear me? Someone said again. You can hear me, says Jake. I'm glitching. Okay, I'm back. All right, well, anyway, it's a perfect time to end the show. It's a perfect time to end the show. As a bunch of people are like, I'm here. I hear you. And then some people saying, I didn't hear you. I don't hear you. Make up your minds. But before I head out, let me shout out some of my YouTube members who are at the Army of Asgard and Keeper of the Bifrost level. Sushi Joe, Eric K, Orange Chat Reviews, Bruce, Adam Avery, Latino Slant, Larry, The Bosco 2000, Jace Doe, and Aiden Vickery. Thank you very much for being amazing members on YouTube at those levels. And again, everyone that's been watching on DLive, everyone that's been watching on YouTube, thank you so very much for being awesome. Super. What's going on? Thank you for being here. Andrew Hoyle, The Shiato, Eric K, Stephanie B. Obviously, shout out to Stephanie B and Tina for being my amazing Valks. Caviteño, what's going on? Golden Ration, thank you for being here. Miss Martin Muses, thank you for being here. Chris P, Dean Approved, Soul Assassin, Nathan Slay, Orange Eye Reviews, 13th Warrior. Awesome. Peabody as well. Dean Heiss, Captain. Dean Heiss, what's going on? He says, sorry, forgot tonight, no problem. We are ending, though. Philly the Hobbit, JKD Buck, 76, Mr. Roy, Captain Mr. Roy, everyone. Thank you again for being amazing, beautiful, awesome people. You guys are freaking so great. I do need to shout out Outpost Dyer. Still need to put him into the credits for the month of August because of that late charge. But thank you again for everyone that's supporting, everyone that's dropped a like, everyone that's supported in so many other ways, putting up with my nonsense, putting up with all the craziness that is the beginning of a school year. And again, if you are one of those members on those other locations, I'm going to try and make it up as best I can before the month is over. So that way I can get y'all the stuff that y'all deserve and try and help out and give you free stuff because I like doing that. But anyway, thank you all so very much for being here. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful evening. And as always, God bless. And now a huge shout out to all of my August Patreon and Subscribe Star members. Starting on Patreon, Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator, Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, Hail Father, Father Damian Cook, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunka Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Jonathan Carney, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., my Valkyrie and Empress of the Universe. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. And also, shout out to my Subscribe Star peeps, Stand For, John B., Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nebadon G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all so very much for supporting me this month. You guys are freaking awesome. If you want your name shouted out at the end of every single video and live stream, and also if you want to have access to special perks like giveaways and an exclusive podcast that I do with fellow YouTuber John the Flick Pig Flickinger, please check out Patreon, Subscribe Star, and YouTube memberships in the links below. You guys are all awesome. I love you to death. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.